The BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup is brought to you by Gaz Shocks and Townsend Vehicle Hire Rugby.
Hello, I'm Scott Woodwiss and welcome to the opening round of the season for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. We're here at a very windy but very sunny Snetterton in Norfolk, and we've got action from both of the opening races of the year coming up. But first of all, I'm going to hand you over to race commentator for the season, Andy McEwan, to take you through the runners and riders and the top picks for 2016. So Andy, who should we be watching out for this season?
The competition in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup looks set to be fiercer than ever this year. Several drivers are expected to be in the mix right from the get-go. Pre-season favourite has to be reigning champ Alan Henderson, who's back in 2016 to defend the title.
Yeah, it was quite a late decision. We weren't sure what we were going to do this year, so we're limited testing at the minute on the new tyres. It's a good field with a few ex-champions in there, so it should be good. Should be good racing.
James Blake Baldwin was the Mark 1 Series champion 2 years ago, but his step up to the SuperCup proved tougher than expected.
We will be at the front. Last year we had a few issues and things, and Kent MX-5 Services stepped in, and we bought a new car and had their guidance all the way through, and fingers crossed it should be a successful year.
But is another race win on the cards this season?
2 would be nice, not 1.
Johnny Greensmith also made his SuperCup debut last year, and wins are definitely on the agenda for 2016.
I never count myself being too cocky to say I can come in and win a championship. I never have done and never will do. Pressure's on them, pressure's on me to show a little bit so. No, we'll just see how we go. It's race by race, to finish with, that's all you can do.
Much of the pre-season excitement though was centred on the return of Mr MX-5 himself, Tom Roach, who's back after a year away.
Yeah, we're here just to have some good racing and enjoy the weekends, but obviously it's always nicest to win, so that's what we'll be aiming for. Yeah, the car feels brilliant. Josh and the boys at Blandini have been building it over winter in evenings and weekends, and it looks great and it goes brilliantly. It's lovely to have my own car. I've not had that before in the SuperCup, and yeah, it's going great so far. Just see how qualifying goes.
Well, these four are certainly going to be tough to beat, but with a number of less experienced drivers joining the championship and former race winners back for more, the stage is set for another cracking season. Well, it is those four at the front of the grid, with Blake Baldwin snatching the pole from Tom Roach, Henderson and Greensmith row 2, Murphy and Harding row 3, with Carl Garnett and Alex Preston on row 4, Jamie Goddard and Philip Callow round out the top 10. Gary Townsend qualified 13th, but he has to start from the back, for his car being underweight after qualifying. So the scene is set and we're ready to go with round 1 of the 2016 Championship on a damp and greasy Snetterton 300 circuit. It is James Blake Baldwin and Tom Roach on the front row of the grid, but in these mixed conditions anything could happen. We're away and racing though in 2016, and it's a good start from pole from James Blake Baldwin, who slots across in front of Tom Roach in the green Blandini machine into Rich's corner. Alan Henderson has tried to challenge for second place up the inside and goes through. Does he? No, Roach just about hangs tough, and remember, in the wet conditions the grid is on the outside line through all of the corners, not on the traditional racing line where all the rubber's been laid down towards the Montreal hairpin. They go for the second time. You can see that there as everyone runs right out wide, but Roach may have just overdone that slightly. I think that Henderson got himself back alongside, but he didn't quite manage to find his way through. So it is Blake Baldwin in the lead then. Second place Tom Roach, third is Alan Henderson, fourth position looks to be Liam Murphy, with Jack Harding fifth and Johnny Greensmith. Bit of a poor start for Johnny, went from fourth down to sixth on the opening few corners with work to do. Down towards the Agostini hairpin, it's then Carl Garnett 7th, 8th is Alex Preston, and 9th place for Philip Callow. Will Chappell is 10th there in the green number 4 car, and that's Richard Wicklin trying to get at the inside of him into the left-hander. Ray Worley goes through shot as well. Around the outside in the 69 machine is George Grant. He's made some good progress from 22nd on the grid. Big moment there though for the number 13 machine. That's Greg Catton, another newcomer to the championship, and the novice cross on the back of his car suggests that he has not done all that much racing. Side by side there, out onto the Bentley straight. That was Alex Preston trying to get up the inside of Carl Garnett for 7th, but nothing doing. And again, the outside line for Garnett gives him more traction onto the back straight, and he pulls away. And at the end of the back straight, we're about to have our first lead change of the season, because Tom Roach uses the slipstream to perfect effect, and the man with more MX-5 experience probably than anyone else on the grid goes through into the lead of the race then. Down into 2nd for James Blake Baldwin, Henderson 3rd. Big gap back now then to Liam Murphy in 4th, whilst Johnny Greensmith's got back into 5th ahead of Jack Harding, I noticed in the background. So 1 place gained for the man who started on the outside of row 2 of the grid. He's now going up the inside of Liam Murphy in towards Coram. That's brave in these conditions. Watch for the background to see who comes out of that one on top. It's still Liam in 4th, with Greensmith 5th and Harding 6th. So leaders then back out of Murray's to end the first lap of the season, and it's Roach from Blake Baldwin from Henderson, and this is very much the story we've been excited to see as the season unfolds. These 3 expected to fight for the championship, with perhaps the guys like Liam Murphy and Johnny Greensmith and Jack Harding getting in the mix as well. With the return of Tom Roach, it's a real opportunity for the reigning champion Alan Henderson to go toe-to-toe with one of the best, and he just went toe-to-toe with the 2014 Mark I champion James Blake Baldwin and came out best. He went through into 2nd place around the outside at Riches, and that just goes to show that's where the grip is. To go right around the outside of Riches is very brave, but it's worth doing in these conditions. He now sets off after Tom Roach. He missed out on the 2014 MX-5 SuperCup Championship to Abbey Eaton by 1 point in a most dramatic final round at Donington Park. Behind, Johnny Greensmith is now 4th. He's got himself ahead of Liam Murphy, and they're really starting to split up into trios, aren't we? We've got 3 cars fighting for the lead, 3 for 4th and 3 for 7th place. That is the 7th place battle, but from 9th place, Philip Carrow spins at Riches and spins right back across the track just behind Will Chappell, and that was very lucky that he didn't get collected by anyone, and he rejoins unscathed. Leaders then out onto the Bentley straight, and Tom Roach just slithers a bit wide there, ran out of front end grip. The car understeered out over the curb. He loses grip, he loses traction, and he loses straight line speed, and that allows Henderson round the outside. This will give him the inside line for the right-hander at Nelson if he hangs tough, which he does. This is fantastic racing, but where's the grip through the right-hander? It's on the inside of the outside. Well, the evidence in front of us suggests it's the outside line, because Roach manages to hang on. He's thrown a load of muck and dirt over the nose of the white AK Automotive car of Henderson behind him, and he holds on to the race lead. Henderson gets a bit sideways out of Coram, and a replay here as the 152 car of Alex King just slithers off the road at Riches and goes through a half spin on the wet grass as he tries to rejoin. He was running down towards the back of the field anyway, and unfortunately losing more ground there, and that is Johnny Greensmith. That is Johnny Greensmith from 4th place, has gone off coming out of Coram by the looks of it. Now, where did he rejoin? He's still there in 4th place, but he had been catching the leading trio. That now, though, has undone all his hard work, and he's fallen behind the new race leader, which is now Alan Henderson. This is how he did it, around the outside at Riches, just as he did a lap earlier to get into 2nd place ahead of Blake Baldwin. So he uses exactly the same tactics to take the lead away from Tom Roach. So down through Palmer's comes the number 19 car of Carl Garnett, trying to chase down Will Chappell. The blue car behind him, number 76, is Richard Wickham. This is a good little battle just towards the back end of the top 10. Of course, this is the scrap that did include Philip Carrow before he went off at Riches a lap or so earlier. Through Agostini, out over the curb if you're brave, but the painted curb's very slippery in the wet conditions. So it's not the ideal place to be going, but you can see there that the track is drying out slightly on the racing line, but in other parts, for example the first corner of Riches, it's still very damp and greasy. That is the number 69 machine of George Grant, and he's just made a very, very good move up the inside into Murray's. That is the 36 car of David Henderson he went up the inside of, 2 of the Masters Cup competitors, and now Carl Garnett loses out to Richard Wickham as they went out through the Williams right-hander and onto the Bentley straight, and Richard Wickham moves up a position. Just up the road from them, we see the dicing going on for 6th place. That's the fluorescent yellow number 32 car of Alex Preston in 6th place, with Jack Harding behind him and Will Chappell. So Chappell's really reeled this group in very quickly over the last few laps. This is now a 3-way battle just outside the top 5. The blue car in front of them, Liam Murphy, a bit anonymous so far in this race. After a good start, he's fallen back down to 5th place, which is where he started the race, and is just keeping this lot at bay, but not really looking like he's going to challenge the top 4 in this race. Will Chappell, a nice tight line through Murray's, gets the power down early and tries to set off after Jack Harding in front of him. He's caught this group now, though. comes the difficult bit of trying to find a way past them. In towards Rich's corner. Oh, Jack Harding gets very, very sideways and spins. Jack Harding spins into the gravel trap at Rich's corner. Well, that made life a little bit easier for Will Chappell, didn't it? As Jack Harding threw himself off the road in front. He'll drag his way through the gravel trap and continue, but that is a real shame for Jack, who was very, very impressive in his first season of car racing last year in the Super Cup. Just needs to try and cut out those little mistakes to be expected for someone with relatively little experience, and especially in these conditions. But if he's going to challenge at the front consistently, he needs to keep it on the black stuff. This battle's still raging. Look, this is now Phil Carrow recovering after his off at this very corner earlier on, and he takes full advantage of another mistake at Rich's corner for Carl Garnett, and Carl slips out wide over the curbs. Through not only goes the 44 car of Carrow, but also Andrew Caird there in the 15 car, who's got a slightly different livery on that machine than the one he was running last year. Andrew was involved in a big shunt at Snetterton last year at the Montreal Hairpin, but picks up a place at that corner this time round. Leaders then down towards the final turn, and despite setting the fastest lap, I don't think Tom Roach is quite going to get there in time. Alan Henderson comes out of the final corner. He'll see the checkered flag off in the distance, and the man who won the 2015 championship continues where he left off with a race win in round one of the 2016 season. Second place goes to Tom Roach. Third place from pole is James Blake Baldwin. He may be a little frustrated with that one, I think, but he still salvages good points for third place. And that is what it's all about, really, in these early stages of the championship. This is the battle further back. Liam Murphy is going to come home fifth. Johnny Greensmith's already crossed the line in fourth. The battle for sixth will rage to the line, though. Alex Preston in number 32, and the green and black Concord Motorsport car number 4 of Will Chappell. And Will can't quite get there in time, but that was a very, very close run battle right down towards the line. There is Andrew Caird. He's trying to find a way past Phil Carrow in front of him still, but I don't think he's quite going to get there. And Alan Henderson it is, who is the race winner in round one of the 2016 Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. That is the absolute perfect start to his title defence. So Henderson takes the win, Roach is second, Blake Baldwin third, Greensmith fourth, and Murphy fifth. Then it's Alex Preston, Will Chappell, Jamie Goddard, Richard Wicklin, and Philip Callow, despite the spin, finishing 10th. Then Andrew Caird 11th, Jack Harding 12th, Carl Garnett, Gary Townsend from the back gets to 14th, ahead of Ray Worley, who rounds out the top 15. And all 26 starters did get to the end of the race then, with Alex King rounding out the runners one lap down.
After practice and qualifying, I was thinking I was a little bit on the back foot. Just, we never really tested on the new tyres properly, and you know, that kind of levelled it out a bit, because I don't think anybody's really drove on them in the wet. So it was, I think we're all in the same boat. We didn't know what to do on setup, so it was just a bit of a gamble, and I went for the moves when I thought they were there at the early stages of the race, and then just kind of maintained the gap until the end, where Tom just started reeling us in a bit, but I just managed to hold on there. It was good.
Alan got a good start. He was a bit more confident, I think, for the first few laps, and got away. It was close after that. You know, we were about the same, I think, and I got a bit quicker at the end, but not enough. And it was a really good fun racer. Didn't really realise how slippy it was going to be. Just went full dry setup. Thought I'd be dry in a minute, but it was nowhere near.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased to be up there, to be honest. It's my own fault, really. I suppose I'm down in third. We were all trying different lines as the circuit was drying. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And unfortunately, the two decisions I made didn't work out. So, I'm really pleased. There's absolutely nothing in it on the times. I think it's going to be an awesome season.
So a delighted Alan Henderson takes the win in round one of the championship, but he didn't have it easy. And it's set to be the same story in race 2, coming up after the break. Hello and welcome back to a blustery but now thankfully dry Snetterton, where round 2 is about to get underway. Before that though, let's take a look at the Masters Cup action from round 1 for drivers over the age of 45, including Ian McDonald in the second of the Townsend vehicle hire cars. Greg Catton survived this first lap moment and finished the first race in 24th overall, while Jim Hart and Steve Dolman had a race-long battle, which eventually saw Dolman come out on top. Simon Fleet was 6th in the Masters despite falling off the track at Riches, dropping in behind David Willoughby, who came home 5th. George Grant was 4th and Chase Jeremy Crookhard all raced for 3rd, but it was Ray Worley and Gary Townsend who fought for the Masters win, with Gary recovering from the back to snatch it right at the flag. So the grid is set and we are ready to go for round number 2 of the 2016 championship with Henderson and Roach on row 1. Away we go, and in much drier conditions the speeds will be up, the slipstream will be even more effective around the Snetterton circuit, and we should see even more close racing than we saw in the first race. And it started straight away with Henderson and Roach wheel to wheel for the race leading to Riches for the first time. I think Henderson held on the inside line. The rest of the cars coming through, a couple kicking up the dirt further back, but they're all safely through and down towards Montreal for the first time. It is indeed Henderson leading, and into second place goes James Blake Baldwin, third for Roach, and fourth place looks to be Johnny Greensmith, so he's made a better go of the start this time around and gets away with the leading 3. It's then fifth place for Liam Murphy. Will Chappell is 6th. Alex Preston, very impressive here this weekend, is into 7th place again and looking to get away with the leading pack this time around. Further back then, number 21 car of Simon Fleet, can't miss him, the blue car with the bright pink wheels and roll cage. But they're all safely through Palmer's down towards Agostini. Richard Wickler looks up the inside there of Alex Preston. Jack Harding with another iffy start. Saw him running wide through Montreal. That may explain why he's lost a couple of places from his grid position. More cars running wide further back, but they still continue on their way towards Hamilton's and out through Williams and onto the back straight then. So race leader from pole position is Alan Henderson, but with Blake Baldwin into second place and determined to try and start his season off with a race win. He's going for it now around the outside and he takes it. So just like in the first race, the man who led onto the Bentley straight on lap 1 does not come off it as the race leader, and in fact Henderson goes from first to third because Tom Roach has come back through as well. This is really allowing Johnny Greensmith to go with them this time. Look, in the blue number 5 car in his second season of Mark III racing, but he is a former Mazda MX-5 champion in Mark 1s several years ago, plus a Porsche champion in 2014, so he's used to rear-wheel drive sports car racing, but it took a little bit of time to get used to these slightly quirky Mazda MX-5 Mark IIIs. But he's right there with the leading 4 cars across the line, then weaving this way, and look at James Blake Baldwin trying to break the toe, something they didn't really feel the need to do in race 1, but in these drier conditions and with the higher speeds that brings, the slipstream is going to be a real factor, could well decide the outcome of the race. Through Riches for the second time, then right out over the curbs. Oh, Phil Carrow's off again. He spun in the first race, if you remember, but recovered brilliantly to a top 10 finish. Unfortunately, though, he's off again in the early stages of race 2. Down through the left-hander at Palmer's then. Liam Murphy's 5th, but he's not quite able to go with the leading group. Look, Will Chappell is 6th place. And then looks like Richard Wickler up into 7th, down towards Agostini's, and Roach I thought might have had a go on the inside then, but decided he was too far back. Discretion was the better part of valour, and Phil Carrow unfortunately is going no further, so perhaps I've done him a disservice there. Looks like there may be a mechanical issue rather than that being driver error. Leaders though back through Williams and on to the back straight. This is already a much closer contest than we had in the first race, and here comes the attempt for the lead, this time from Tom Roach up the inside of Blake Baldwin. Does he make the move stick? No, they're still wheel to wheel, and Blake Baldwin hangs tough around the outside, gets the inside for the right-hander, and watch for Henderson to try and buy into this all as well. He can't quite get alongside the Blendini car though as they make their way into the bomb hole. So he settles in 3rd place, but it is Blake Baldwin who hangs on to the race lead tenaciously. Won 1 race last year, the last round of the championship at Donington Park, and will very much be looking for a few more top step finishes in 2016. And another spin there towards the back, that's Alex King who's rotated. And I think that's at the left-hander at Hamilton's on the infield. Simon Fleet there makes a good move up the inside of the number 52 machine. That's Steve Dolman. Out through Rich's corner. In behind them, look, is the number 69 car of George Grant. But these are the leaders, and it's all kicking off at the front as now into 2nd place goes Alan Henderson. They couldn't have been much closer then, could they, into the left-hander at Palmer's. Down towards Agostini's though, and Roach is fighting back. Henderson knows it and is having to defend. And look at what this is doing for the race leader, Blake Baldwin. He's pulling away now as they start defending and dicing for position behind them. Behind him, it's holding them up. And Blake Baldwin, well, if he can break the toe, that will make things very much easier for him, as Dolman, unfortunately, has gone off at the final turn, slithers his way back onto the track. The grass is still quite damp after this morning's rain. Look at that, Blake Baldwin really trying to break the draft at the front of the field. As I mentioned, it's not quite working there, but they're side by side again behind him as up the inside line goes Henderson. A bit of contact there as they come through the left-hander at Brundle's into Nelson, but Roach hangs on, slithers out wide over the curbs in towards the bomb hole. That was very close indeed. They turn right, and look at the front left tyre. The front left tyre on Tom Roach's car has gone down. Now, whether that was a result of the contact or not, I'm not too sure, but Tom Roach has gone off the road at the bomb hole, and I'm fairly sure I spotted a deflating front left tyre. What a shame for Tom Roach, who was really enjoying his return to the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup, but unfortunately it's all gone a little bit wrong there. Racing incident, I'm sure, but you can see as he turns in, the car will not turn, and that's because the air is rushing out of that front left tyre, the tyre that's doing all the work through the high-speed right-handers round here. And that is a real shame for Tom Roach. James Blake Baldwin then now inherits a big lead in Mazda MX-5 racing terms, and also takes the fastest lap, so he was starting to pull away anyway, and now Alan Henderson has to fend off the attentions of Johnny Greensmith. Greensmith goes up the inside, locks up though, runs a bit wide through Montreal, now down towards Palmer's, and Henderson fights straight back, but it puts him on the wrong side of the road now into this very quick left-hander. On the inside line though, looks like Greensmith will hang on, throws it in, throws it a bit too quickly though and loses the rear, and Greensmith slides off the road, and well, he was determined to try to get to the apex first, wasn't he there? He was defending the inside, went in a bit tight on the dirty side of the road and just carried a touch too much speed into the corner, so Henderson goes back through into second place then. Johnny Greensmith now drops down into third and some distance behind. Those top three now fairly well spaced out. And there's Andrew Caird with quite a bit of damage to the back of his car. He's being followed by Jeff Gurrier, back again this season in his familiar number 71 machine, the Porsche racing car. Up the inside though goes Andrew Caird, and that's a good move into 11th place. That's on the inside of the number 89 car of Gary Townsend, not Gary's familiar colours. He had a problem in practice, which meant he had to change cars into the number 89 car, the AK Automotive machine, through Williams onto the back straight. Ray Worley there with a nice dice with Simon Fleet in the 21 machine. This though is James Blake Baldwin, and this is the final corner of the final lap, and he's on his way now to win number one of the season, win number one of many he hopes, and I think he's fairly happy with that one. Weaves his way to the checkered flag and he wins round two of the championship. Second place goes to Alan Henderson. Good points haul from him to kickstart his 2016 campaign. Johnny Greensmith comes across the line in fourth, and these three are quite some way ahead of the rest of the field. Great win that from James Blake Baldwin though. He is here to win the championship this year, and he sent a very clear message across in that race. Fourth place for Liam Murphy. Fifth place is Will Chappell. Sixth place Jack Harding, good solid points haul for him. Carl Garnett is seventh. Eighth place Richard Wickland. Ninth is Andrew Caird, and Gary Townsend 10th. They all had to chase home James Blake Baldwin, who gets his first win of the season here at Snetterton. So there is the top 10 again then. Blake Baldwin by 4 seconds in the end, but that doesn't really do that race justice. It was a great dice between those three and Tom Roach whilst he was in it. Jeff Gurrier was outside the top 10 and 11th, Jeremy Crook 12th, Alex Preston 13th, then Henderson, Willoughby, Fleet, Worley, Hart, Dolman and George Grant round out the top 20. And important to note that Tom Roach came in, changed the tyre over and got back out there, which means he is classified as a finisher, and for 24th place he'll get 50 odd championship points, which could prove crucial.
Absolutely ecstatic. I couldn't be more pleased, to be honest. One of the hardest battles I think I've ever had. Amazing drivers, Jonathan Greensmith, Alan Henderson, of course Tom Roach, but Chris at Kent MX-5 Services has done an amazing job on the car. It's absolutely perfect, so I'm really happy.
There was a little bit of contact with Tom, nothing malicious, just a racing incident really. We just went wheel to wheel, just touched, and I think it's damaged his wheels, so unfortunately he couldn't. I don't know if he carried on or if he came in the pits and went back out, I don't know, I haven't spoken to him yet, but yeah, apart from that it was good.
Yeah, we're interested to sit behind them, all three of them, to see if anything would happen, and it did with Tom, but then I got past Alan at one point, and then I think my brain just cancelled out and the back end stepped out on me and I ended up on the grass, and then Alan overtook me again like so. But now, really enjoyable event, really good race. Thank you.
So let's take a look at how the points look after the first two rounds of the championship. It's Henderson from Blake Baldwin by just the 1 point, with Johnny Greensmith only 7 points further back in third. Liam Murphy and Will Chappell are fourth and fifth, and the top five covered by just 18 points. So the first two races of the 2016 season are done, and they were two very closely fought and very entertaining races indeed. We hope for more of the same through the rest of the season. We hope you'll join us to find out what happens next.